Hi everyone, it's Brenda again with another episode of Three Uniques. I'm really excited to introduce you to Deborah Crowe. Deborah is an executive coach out in London, Ontario, in Canada here. And Deborah, great to have you on today. How are things going?
Thanks so much for having me. Things are great. It's a beautiful fall sunny day here and delighted to spend some time with you.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about what you do.
So I'm in the executive coaching space. Love to share that with you. And I stay in a lane that I like to call I'm a disruptor. So I like to disrupt habits of thinking. And my passion is to work with executive leaders and their teams and also C-suite leaders, because people don't realize they work really hard to get to the proverbial top, if you will, and climb that ladder. But it's lonely when you get there. And there's lots of habits of thinking that can seek in for them, even though they're leaders. So that's where I like to spend time, is reviewing habits of thinking for all elements of their life and looking at everything, looking at the whole person, and just really, really enjoy it. And I have some amazing clients.
Awesome. And inside scoop, everybody, I'm one of Deb's clients. So, so I can definitely attest and just to her great capabilities and strength in helping me pivot in some of those areas that she just talked about. It's awesome.
Thank you.
So Deb, you want to share your three uniques with us?
I do. And I love the way you said I can say them just like ice cream. So I'm gonna.
Okay.
Definitely heart-centered leadership, resiliency, and passion.
Awesome. So let's take it up to the top. So heart-centered leadership.
I think heart-centered leadership is something that we evolve at every day. I think as a woman, I wake up every day and think, how can I be a little bit better than the Deb Crowe I was yesterday? And I think sometimes weakness is looked at as not a strength, but it really is. And I think it's exemplified and demonstrated in our behavior through heart-centered leadership. And when you put people first and honor that connection, everything else always falls into place because you're fostering and creating trust and rapport.
Amazing. And we are on the planet to be in like a human connection, right? We're not like put on this planet to live in isolation and to not connect with our neighbors and our community. So, building those relationships are really what's essential.
Absolutely. And I think COVID has really allowed us to pause and reflect on that and not allow ourselves time or space or even thought to go into fear, because there's still a lot of unknown. But if you just stay focused on your connection with people and don't have an attachment to an outcome, whatever that may be, just stay being connected and being there for people and really, really listening to them. I think that's the key to any relationship, Brenda, in business or in our personal life.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you mentioned like just during times like now with COVID, we can sometimes get in our head and maybe go too far down the track of like when things are going to turn around or when this is going to happen. It's like all we have is now.
Absolutely.
We don't know what the next 6 months are going to look like. We want to be optimistic. We want to, think in those type of proportions. And at the same time, we have people around us right now that need us and need us to be in that heart-centered leadership place. So
absolutely. My Irish Nana used to say, today is called a present because it's a gift and it's all we have to focus on.
Lovely. Okay, let's hear number two.
So number two is resiliency. And I think I love this unique quality because we all have life handed to us on different platters in different ways, depending on our age. And we have two choices on how we deal with things that come our way. And I think we all have different levels of emotional intelligence. And I've had a lot of loss in my life. I've lost most of my family. I had difficulty building my business. So I'm no different than anybody else, including yourself, Brenda. We all have our stuff, and it's how we choose to respond. And I'm not saying that there's no space or time or allotment for having emotion and leaning into those emotions and having the openness and the vulnerability. We all need to do that. But having the tenacity and the grit to be resilient, mm-hmm. because tomorrow's always a new day and it's a clean slate. And even though we have schedules and deadlines and goals and commitments, sometimes we can just stop and pause and have that mindfulness to realize it's okay. Tomorrow's a new day. It happened to us, but it's not going to hold us back from what we want to do or who we are as a person. So my kids always joke with me and say I'm the queen of getting back up. And I think as a mom, it's important for us as women to model that for our children, for younger leaders who we're mentoring, but even our coworkers, our relatives, our friends. So it's okay to wallow, just don't stay there.
Right. Yeah. And so do you feel, I mean, like I often hear other leaders describe or define their staff as being resilient. So is that something that people are just born with? Like some people are just, born through nurturing, et cetera, like with this level of resiliency, or could I learn how to be resilient today if I wasn't yesterday?
I think we're all lifelong learners. I think we all have different paths that we choose to take and integrate. And I think it's important for us to keep learning, because then we're allowed to unlearn and relearn depending on where we are at what stage of life. And that's the best way that I define it. It's how I model it, how I thought in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and now my 50s. Every decade presents us with a different habit of thinking because our goals and our values change. And I think we become more like-minded and we get to know ourselves better. And we can let go of things by doing that unlearn, relearn model. And I think it's just the best way to frame it. I do think some people are naturally born with it. I think people do have natural talents. For me, it's been something I've learned and I continue to foster and grow, kind of like, the next version of Deb Crowe, what will it be tomorrow? And it'll just have an extra layer of resiliency. So I think it's an ongoing skill that we hone, much like listening. And I think resiliency is open to anyone. You have to have the strength to step into it.
Amazing. And your third unique?
My third unique is passion. And I think passion for me is like a big foundation. And on top of that, I throw in all the other skills that go into that, the compassion, the empathy, the attentive listening. When I really am passionate about something, there's no barrier, there's no obstacle. And it doesn't matter if I want to run a 5K or lose 10 pounds or crush a new business goal. I always jump all in, and there's nothing but passion and excitement. And I think when we bring that level of emotion to anything that we do, it excites the people that you work with. I know I get excited for my clients when they hit goals, and it's really important for me to have that mind and heart alignment, because I get excited when my clients hit their goals, because I know that I was in alignment with them and helping them step by step to get there. And passion for me is just so unwavering. And I think it's one of the biggest qualities that I have.
Outstanding. So Deb, I've got a couple other questions for you.
Sure.
We've got less than 100 days left on 2020. What's a goal that you really want to get accomplished by December 31st?
Great question. I'm going to have a 30-day challenge that I'm going to put out to all leaders to help them become a heart-centered leader in 30 days.
Okay.
I want people to finish this year strong and look back with that goal and that emotion and just that thrill and passion of, I'm going to do this before December 31st. So that's something that I'm working on right now.
Awesome. I can't wait to see that and be a part of it. I'm excited. And then my other question for you is, what advice would you give to, I'm going to describe them as a smart, driven college student about entering the real world?
Oh, the real world. That's a great question. I think the best advice that I would give is for them to embrace who they are and not let their academic astuteness kind of pave the way. Your marks take you so far, but your listening and your behavior and your emotion and how you perceive things, along with really listening, is key. So I would tell them to honor and be present when they're talking with people so they can augment their communication skills, their networking skills, and to really listen. When you're really present in a conversation, just like you and I are having right now, you embrace the excitement and the emotion of the other person. It's fun looking another person, in the eye, even if it's on Zoom and you miss that face-to-face, but just being present so that they're really connected, mind and heart. because when you have that connection, it's a long distance between and it's hard to connect. But when you allow yourself to be, great things open up for you.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And any advice that you give to somebody trying to discover or define their three uniques? Anything like a path that you took, before you came on today to interview with us, but any advice that you would give to someone?
Absolutely. I had fun with it. I have to be honest. I'm in a lot of different circles. So I went to my volunteer supervisor at hospice because I haven't been able to volunteer this year. I asked her what she thought my three uniques were. I mentored some young leaders. I asked my family. I asked some friends. And it was really an interesting exercise, Brenda, because I kind of cut and pasted them all into a document. And the three uniques that I gave you were the most popular that I received back. And it was just fun to look at the list on how other people, young to elderly, view your three uniques, and then how you can look at the list and see the alignment. And it was a fun exercise, but I just felt proud that that's how I represent myself and how I really want to represent myself in the world. So I would just say have fun with it. Ask different people in your life in different circles what they think your three uniques are, and just sit in silence. That's what I did. And that's how the three came to the surface. And it's just fun to kind of do that self-audit.
Amazing. I completely agree. And just having interviewed some other people, I think the pattern that I'm starting to see is, one, people go out there and ask other people how they show up, and people that know them, care about them, have revealed, these three uniques and patterns, and people can see that, which is amazing. I think the other thing too that you mentioned is, just sort of leaning into it and, realizing that this is actually just who you are. And, sometimes I think, people may, describe themselves by what they do, and that's fine. That's your day job, and that's how you, bring home the bacon, etc. But, are you really in everyday practices, like, do all of our three uniques show up in our work and our relationships? It's a great way to also sort of center yourself and say, am I living my life around my three uniques, or am I kind of tucking them away in a drawer and only certain people at certain times get to see them and experience them? So that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a fun exercise. It was it kind of added to the joy of my week. So I was honored to be asked.
Well, thank you so much for sharing them with us today. We really appreciate having you on, and just giving us a deeper insight into who you are as a heart-centered leader has been awesome. And I know just from my own personal journey of you being my coach, it's just really valued and appreciated. So thank you so much for your time today, Deb.
Oh, it was my pleasure, and all the best with Three Uniques. I think it's such a fun show, and I think it just gives people that self-audit time, and you look like you're having a lot of fun doing it.
It is tons of fun. It's a great way to connect with people, especially during this year when you're not able to really kind of go out for coffee with people, or you're not traveling and connecting with people from a work or personal standpoint. So it's a great way. And it's also a great way for me to get a deeper insight into people that I know. So thanks again.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Hey, take care, everybody. And thanks again for tuning in to Three Uniques today. Thanks again to Deb Crowe for being on. And take care, everybody.